US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it.
The company...
Yeah.
If you're making big changes, does that mean you were doing something wrong before?
Look, this is a great opportunity for us to reset the balance in favor of free expression. As Mark says in that video, what we're doing today is we're getting back to our roots in free expression. There's a number of changes we're making, but if I could, I'd just highlight three.
Yep.
First is, as you heard, we're eliminating the third-party fact-checking system. Well-intentioned at the outset, but there's just been too much political bias in what they choose to fact-check and how, so we're just scrapping it entirely.
What do you mean? You mean you?
The fact-checkers.
You set up your... Well, they're yours.
Well, so the idea was they're independent fact checkers, but they've just been too biased, and so what we're going to do instead is adopt a system like X has of community notes. So we're just going to rely on our own community of users to provide people more information about what they're seeing, and we think that's going to work.
So give us an example. If we said, if the headline is Donald Trump won the presidency, then anyone in the community can write notes underneath it?
Yeah, great question. So somebody can write a note, and then the way it works is different people on the platform can sort of vote on that note. And if you get people who usually disagree, who all say, "Yeah, that sounds right," then that note gets put on the post, and people see it. X has been doing it for a while. We think it's working really well, and we're going to adopt that system.
So, and what are the other ones?
Thank you. So the second one is about the rules that govern content on our platform. They've just become too restrictive over time about what people can say, including about those kind of sensitive topics that you mentioned that people want to discuss and debate: immigration, trans issues, gender. We want to make it so that, bottom line, if you can say it on TV, you can say it on the floor of Congress, you certainly ought to be able to say it on Facebook and Instagram without fear of censorship. So we're changing those rules. And then the last thing, if I could, we're also going to change how we enforce the rules. And we're going to make it so that there's way less over-enforcement and way fewer mistakes that actually make up the vast majority of censorship that people experience on our platforms. So big changes, all in service of getting us back to our values of free expression.
So Joe, I guess the big question is where are the changes coming from? Because, I mean, it's hard not to notice there's been a change in Mark Zuckerberg. You've seen him as, you know, respectfully, the nerdy kid, change over to the jiu-jitsu. He's put on some lean muscles. His viewpoints have changed. His posting content, when he does speak, he's taking a meeting with Trump, taking a different stance on certain things. Are these changes coming from him or from what the public is saying?
There's no question that the things that happen at Meta are coming from Mark, but there's also no question that there has been a change over the last 4 years. We saw a lot of societal and political pressure all in the direction of more content moderation, more censorship, and we've got a real opportunity now. We've got a new administration and a new president coming in. We're big defenders of free expression, and that makes a difference. One of the things we've experienced is that when you have a U.S. president administration that's pushing for censorship, it just makes it open season for other governments around the world that don't even have the protections of the First Amendment to really put pressure on U.S. companies. We're going to work with President Trump and push back on that kind of thing around the world.
So, Joel, why now? I know you said it's a change, but did you feel restricted over the last 4 years? And this is the first time you have, it's in your business interest to express this quest for freedom?
Well, there's no question that there's an opportunity here with a new president taking office, as I said, who really believes in free expression. And that's just going to give us the space to get back to those values that Mark has talked about for a long time. Mark gave a big speech 6 years ago at Georgetown about free expression, about these values. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of political and societal pressure here and around the world that have pushed away from those values. We've got a real opportunity to reset, get back to them, and really provide a space.
How was the Biden administration putting pressure on you specifically? Were they calling when they didn't like a post? What did they say, take it down?
Yeah, so Mark talked about this in a letter he sent to the House Judiciary Committee a few months ago. That sort of outlined the way in which we got a lot of pressure around COVID in particular to take down more content, even things like humor and satire about the pandemic and about vaccines. So we did experience that kind of pressure. The decisions we made ultimately were our own, But there's a real opportunity here with President Trump coming into office with his commitment to free expression for us to get back to those values and really provide space for people to have the kind of discourse and debate they want to have.
Would you do what X did, and that is unleash independent journalists like Matt Taibbi and Bari Weiss and Michael Schellenberg onto forensically go through what you guys are actually repressing, shielding, shadow banning over the last few years? Wouldn't that be part of this cleansing process?
So we've had an opportunity to do a lot of that with the House Judiciary Committee and Chairman Jordan over the last few months and years, and he put out a really thorough report on the experience that we and other companies have had. Honestly, we're pretty focused on the future and the opportunity we have right now with the changes we're making today to really open up the space for debate and expression.
Is the idea to get out of politics totally and focus on just the enterprise of the free market, people debating things, or is it for Mark Zuckerberg to become like an Elon Musk and be influential as well, work with the next administration, or a little bit of both? I don't know.
Well, Mark's always going to be Mark Zuckerberg, but I think there is a real opportunity to work with the new administration, both on free expression, but also on American leadership in technology and innovation. This is something we've seen President Trump is really focused on, making sure that we maintain U.S. competitiveness and leadership on technology, things like AI. Those are obviously super important to our company and our industry, and we'll look forward to working with the new administration to advance those goals.
Right. And Joel, when you talk about content moderation, I think a lot of people watching right now are going, well, you know, it sounds better if they're not taking instructions from the federal government, the Joe Biden administration, saying, hey, this is wrong, take that down. So people like the idea that they're going to have a say, where you can add the community notes going forward. But ultimately, is this one of the things you're doing as a company to make sure that Meta and the other social media companies aren't regulated by Washington? Because that's the last thing you guys want.
Yeah, I think when it comes to expression, especially in the United States, we got a long tradition of the First Amendment, and we think that the right thing is for individual users to have the ability to decide themselves what to say. Look, there's bad stuff that people do online, like they do in the real world, and we want to make sure we don't have that. So we're still going to be enforcing against terrorism and drug sales and child sexual exploitation, things everybody agrees have no business being on our
What about
platform.
bullying all the young little girls? I remember Mark. Remember he was on the Hill and he had to he was kind enough to turn around and apologize to the families, but all those families have lost their kids from bullying. I have a 9-year-old, so I'm starting to get concerned because eventually, when she's in high school or even after, she'll be faced with these situations. So what do you say to those families?
Yeah, well, I'm a parent of 2 teenagers.
Gosh,
so,
you're in it.
Yeah, I'm in it. So, these are issues that I take really seriously, and that a lot of my colleagues who are also parents of Meta and those who aren't parents take really seriously. We got to make sure teens are protected online. We launched a few months ago a product called Teen Accounts that really puts parents in the driver's seat and makes it so that they can see what their kids can see and do online, who can contact them. We put kids in sort of built-in default settings, the most protective settings we have, and then if you're under 16, you can't change those settings on Instagram without your parents' permission. We think that's a really good innovation and something we're hopeful. It's an area
How do
where
we do
Congress
that
can act.
setting? How do the parents find that setting on the phone before they give it to their child?
Yeah, well, so we'll send notifications basically to the parents to let them know that this opportunity exists, and the kid can't sign up for Facebook for Instagram without being put into a teen account, and then their parent gets a notice and says, hey, your kid's trying to sign up, and if you want to change any of the settings, you can do it here.
So, Joel, what you got to do is reestablish trust. I mean, people remember the Zuckerbucks into those key areas in 2020 that were deciding what state, what candidate was going to win what state. And one of the reasons you're trying to do that is, number one, making this announcement here. The other thing is changing your board to let people know, maybe by the people that you're hiring, that you asked to join, that their agenda doesn't match maybe the 2020 agenda. What have you done?
Well, we made a big announcement yesterday, put 3 new board members on, great board members, including Dana White, President and CEO of UFC. Guy's a legend, an incredible businessman, incredible entrepreneur, marketing genius. Super excited to have him. A couple other great board members with real deep business experience that we put on the board. So those are important voices. Mark has always been great about getting different perspectives so that we sort of cover the waterfront of ideas and perspectives that we want to make sure are getting fed into the process.
So, is this? Can you tell the audience and the world that this is not a temporary stance? And what I mean by that is this just because you got Donald Trump in there for 4 years? Are you guys going to continue this after his presidency, or is this just a temporary thing for the moment?
This is an opportunity for us to get back to the values that Mark founded the company on. This runs deep for Mark. It's a great opportunity to rebalance and to get back to free expression.
When you say rebalance, historically, big tech companies and social media companies have leaned to the left. You know that. Is this dragging it closer to the center? But I mean, with Dana White, obviously a Trump ally as part of the board, is the company becoming more central rather than leaning to one side or the other?
I think the way to look at it is we're a platform for all people and all ideas.
I know, but some people don't feel that certain, and haven't felt historically, that certain social media companies were hospitable to their points of view.
No question, and that's what I meant by rebalance. We want to make sure that they understand that their views are welcome, and that we're providing a space for them to come onto our platforms, engage, express themselves, engage in the important issues of the day, or not in the important issues of the day, just whatever it is they want to talk about and share. And so we need to make sure they feel welcome. We need to make sure we rebuild trust, and that's a big part of what we're doing today.
So also, there's something else that could be in front of the Supreme Court, and that's future TikTok. China control. So you're an American company, you decide to make this announcement. How does this relate to what TikTok could possibly do?
So look, we like competition. We think it makes us better. I know there are concerns that Congress has expressed, and that the president and Congress and the courts are working through with TikTok. We're going to stay focused on what we're doing and how we make our platform as open and welcoming a place as possible for all points of view. Well, that's something I'm going to leave to the president, the courts, and Congress. We're focused on what we can do to make our platforms the best they can
If
be.
Elon Musk didn't buy X and expose would be exposed and put community notes like this, if you could be, what did he, in buying this and doing what he did, do for the introspection that Facebook is showing right now?
I think Elon's played an incredibly important role in moving the debate and getting people refocused on free expression, and that's been really constructive and productive. And we're just glad that we've got the opportunity now to make these kind of changes and to get back to our roots of free expression.
Maybe all social media companies can learn a lot from this because y'all were the original. Mark was one of the originals at least, and so y'all had to see all the changes and what works and what doesn't work and what Americans really want. So thank you for your honesty. Thank you for doing this for children and all your customers.
Australia has banned social media up until you're 16 years old. How do you feel about that?
We think the right way to do it is to trust parents. That's what we're doing with the teen accounts that I mentioned. And obviously we've got to work with governments and follow the laws that they pass. But I think there's a better way, and that's to put parents in charge. They know what's best for their teens and their kids, and that's what we're trying to do.
What's your biggest customer? What age group?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we've got 3.2 billion people using our services, so we really have people across all ages, and we want to make sure we're serving them all and letting them express themselves in a way, especially with teens, where they're still kept safe.
Did you talk to David Sachs about this? He's going to be coming in as the AI.
Yeah, we've talked to David. We're really excited about that post. We think he's going to do great things. He really understands the industry. He really understands crypto and AI, and we can't wait to start working with him.
Well, Joel, thank you very much for stopping by the couch and making a big announcement today.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for having me.
A fair and balanced social media world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Carly, you have
Yes, we brotherhood from sea to shining sea.